The line tool is the most common tool in our arsenal of tools. It's simple to understand and a very powerful tool. We've already played with it a little bit, but we're going to get a little more in depth in this movie. First off, let's click on Sketch, Start a Sketch. If I choose a sketch, it's going to ask me to choose one of these planes. I'm going to choose the top plane, and we're going to jump into the line tool. And this time, I'm going to start at the origin. But I don't want to start at the origin with the regular line tool. I actually want to go and choose the centerline tool. So if you haven't added the centerline tool to your tool palette, go ahead and click on the drop-down arrow and choose the centerline tool. And from that tool, I can go and drag a line directly up. And notice I get a little heads-up display showing me that it's roughly 2 inches long and 90 degrees. And it's giving me that little yellow box showing me that's a vertical line. Go ahead and click OK. Notice as soon as I click, I get some of these little yellow helper lines helping me to draw a nice square or perpendicular shape. So if I click on that line, I can drag it over here. This time I'm going to go out to about 4, come down over here to back to the origin. And notice as soon as I do that, it gives me these little helper lines showing me that I'm at the origin. So it makes it really easy to draw things in SolidWorks like this. When you're done with that, go ahead and click on Escape and turns it off. Now notice I can drag this shape around, I move it up and down. But right now they're all made out of construction lines or center lines. So construction lines and center lines are really the same thing, just depending on how you're using them. Now, I can flip between the two very easily by clicking on a line itself and then coming over here and turning this box for construction and unchecking it. Turns it into a regular line. Same thing over here. I can say for construction. Or if I wanted to, I could choose all these lines and turn them off to turn them all into regular lines. So you can easily flip between the two types of lines very quickly. What you want to use a construction or centerline tool is something that's not really going to create any geometry. It's just going to be there to help you or help you lay out a sketch. For example, if I had a line like this, I can make a line from the top to the bottom. What that allows me to do now is I have this line right in the center of that shape. And notice because I started in the center point, it gave these little relationships that snap to the midpoint here and the midpoint there. Now I can go ahead and draw something else. For instance, I could maybe use the rectangle tool, which we'll be getting into soon. But I just draw a little rectangle out starting at that center point. That way everything's tied together. And notice as I move things, automatically everything stays in a relationship to each other because they're all linked to different lines and center lines. Now I don't have to use a rectangle tool. I could easily have created these with the line or center line tools. And notice that's exactly what happens when you use a tool like the rectangle tool is SolidWorks behind the scenes just created 4 regular lines and then 2 center line tools and then linked them all together. Notice it also adds a bunch of relationships. Keep in mind how relationships interact. Notice I've got these vertical relationships here and midpoint relationships here and here. And that's what's really defining the shape and turning this into a parametric model. So I can move things around and everything automatically updates with the line. I also want to point out a few other ways to create lines. If I jump up to the line command here, notice we've been using the click method. We click once where we want to start, click again when we want to end, and the tool stays active. If that's not what you want to do, if you just want to make one line, use the click and drag method. So click once where you want to start and then hold down the left mouse button and drag it out to wherever you are. When you release the mouse button, the line ends and so does the command. The line tool is the basis for most sketches in SolidWorks. Although it's simple to use, it's also one of the most powerful building blocks in the SolidWorks tool library.